G'day, it's Rob here. A while back I managed to purchase this 4x6 Rong Fu metal cutting bandsaw. I got it in a rundown condition with a few bits missing off the local. I wanted to sell freebie listing site. It's a bit like Craigslist, and it's called Gumtree in Australia. And I got it for $85, which I thought was pretty good considering they're like, you know, well over $350, close to $400 new for a basic one. So I thought 85 wasn't bad. And I don't mind doing stuff up. I mean, it makes it interesting, and you can do stuff up how you want it, get it exactly how you want it. And basically there's not much to go wrong with these things really. It's all replaceable, it's all fixable if you're a little bit handy. And so here's the unit. So okay, here's a photo of how it looked when I first got it, and you can see it was all rusty. It had been standing out in the weather for 7 months, and it was missing a few bits. Okay, what was wrong with it? Well, for starters, it was missing the movable vice jaw, and it was missing the vice nut, which goes on the Acme thread, the left-handed Acme thread, which comes through off of this handle and moves your vice backwards and forwards. So I had to make up a vice. I didn't want to spend any money and buy stuff, and I like making the stuff up myself, so as I said. So this is a piece of heavy angle, and I cut a corner on it so you can do your 45 degrees. You can come right over, it's big enough that you can come right over with it. And you can come over and do your angles, and it won't get in the way. And I also made up the 5/8 Acme, left-hand Acme thread vice nut, which goes down underneath, and that's what the handle is attached to. It screws your jaw in and out. And I made that out of steel, not cast, and that turned out good. I just did it on my cheap Chinese lathe using a single point cutter. You know, those cheap Chinese lathes that some people say can't cut a thread. Well, afraid you're wrong, guys. You can even do Acme threads on them if you know what you're doing. And it turned out good. So that was all done on the little lathe, and I did it in 2 sections, and here's a few photos of what it looks like. Okay, you can see from the photos that I machined up the Acme thread separately to the sliding section, and then I milled the sliding section, and I got the height right by measuring through here with a ruler and against the threaded shaft. And then when it was all right, I just arced it together with the old stick welder. It turned out good. Okay, now on this vise you can see this jaw I've got this screw thread here, and that's basically so that it's a good idea, and I've seen people fit those to the standard vise. It's a bit tricky to fit it to a standard one, but on this I've got a bracket which takes it, and you screw that in so that if you put any small stuff in here, it stops the vise from twisting. You just turn the thread in, and basically when you do your handle up, it stops the vise from canting around on small stuff, because the axis point, the pivot point, is away from the small piece of work you're working on. Full length stuff, you don't need this, but for anything short, yeah, as you do that vise up, it's just going to push the vise around like this. So the thread is just a movable stop, and it just stops all that happening. I just put a handle on it. I had this rod, and I just machined up a handle on the Chinese lathe and knurled it, and I knurled, I made up this lock down here for the vise with a knurled section, so you can do it at finger top. You've got a hexy head. Most times you don't need to do it up real tight. Finger tight's okay, just pull it down. So yeah, if you've got a small lathe, you can do all this stuff. It's a piece of cake, you know. Get yourself a cheap knurling set and make it all look pretty, and it's functional, you can grip it. So I did those jobs. What else? Okay, I put on a little indicator here. This is where the, I don't know if you can see that. Yes you can, I'll just pan a little bit. Where are we? There we go. Okay. This is where the adjustable stop goes for doing multiple cuts of the same length. And that was missing, and I didn't have much need for that. So I've just put a little rod, little shaft in here where I've just put a knurled end on it, and that basically shows you where the blade position is. So when you're lining up your work, you can roughly, pretty closely get it in line with where the blade will come down by just lining up with the end of that little shaft. So it's handy. It gets it pretty close, and with a bit of practice, you can get it spot on. So you're not actually having to have the blade coming down while you're positioning the work. So that's another thing I did to it. Now I'll come in a bit closer and show you some more stuff. The other two mods I did were these two, zero stop adjuster, which I got off the internet. It was something that hadn't been written up much at all. Didn't seem to get a lot of attention, but I think it's a great mod. It lets you move your pivoting Vise jaw away from 90 to do angle cuts, and then you can bring it back and it comes up against the stop and you're back to your dead on 90 again. So it just basically holds your 90 position, and you can move your jaw all you want, and well, without any hassles, just go straight back, swing it back, and you're up against your stop and back to 90. Great idea, that one. And the other one I put on myself, something I came up with, which is a latch to stop the arm from swinging up when you're moving the saw around. That just locks in and stops the arm coming up when you're wheeling it. It works good. A handy one, that one. Okay, so that's those mods. The original motor on this was a 1/3 horsepower, pretty low powered, and it had been out in the weather. The pulley was frozen on, it was broken on the end. And I had a 1 horsepower motor under the bench, so I thought, well, you know, it's stupid not to put the bigger motor on. So the 1/3 came off and the 1 horsepower went on, and with that on, she's got plenty of guts. Never looks like stalling. Only got a 2-speed pulley instead of a 3, but the speeds are good. You got 102 or 177 feet per minute, and 102 was just a good all-round speed for cutting steel, cast, anything. It's a good one, good speed. And gearbox, I checked the oil in the gearbox, and that was perfect. All the gears looked good. So it's probably the original oil, but it still looked as good as gold, so I've left it there for now, and at a later stage I might change it, but I can't see the point really. And anyway, that's that angle. Mechanically pretty good. There's only one area where it had some serious wear, and it wasn't either of these areas. Overall, the machine was in good condition. The blade was stuffed. I got a new blade made up, and that was no problem. But the one area that was badly worn was, in fact, the only area that was worn at all really, was the bush in this top pulley here. This idler pulley. That's got a bronze bush in it, hasn't got ball races, and that was absolutely worn to hell. It was shocking, the whole thing was just wobbling around. So I machined, and also the centre shaft had a ridge in it as well, that was badly worn. So I sleeved that shaft, and spot bronzed it on to the end of the shaft, the sleeve that is. and then I rebushed the pulley, and as I put a sleeve on the shaft, it meant I could use I used a bigger diameter bronze bush to rebush this, so it should last for years and years now. And there's absolutely no run at all. Once again, I did all that on the cheap Chinese lathe, and as you can see, all the tracking and everything is spot on. And yeah, I've used it quite a bit. I've never had the blade jump off or do any of these things you hear about, so it was a perfect job. And when I modified when I actually made the sleeve, I actually did away with the little bush that goes at the back of that sleeve, and I've got the rear of the pulley bearing on a section on the sleeve, so it gives it some end support as well. Here's some photos of that. You can see exactly what I've done in those photos. Now regarding the blade, I had to get a new blade, so I've got a bimetal blade and put that in. Now bimetal blades are the way to go because, okay, they cost 3 times as much, but they last 10 times longer apparently. And they're basically a carbon steel blade with high-speed steel teeth, bonded on using, I think they use a laser or something, but anyway, it's a compound arrangement. And when I bought that, I got that from a sawworks. I had it made up at my local sawworks, and they're the experts. And I said to the guy, how far should I run this? And what speed should I run it at? I said, I can run it at 102 or 177. And his answer was, run it as slow as possible. He said, the slower you run them, the longer they'll last. And now, I mean, I cut dry most of the time, mainly because I'm welding and I don't want to use cutting fluid on it when I'm welding. It means you've got to clean all the ends up. So yeah, he said it'll go years if you run it at the right speed, and cutting dry is no big drama. So I mean, cooling fluid would help, but it's not even getting warm. So yeah, I've done a bit of work with it, and it cuts beautifully. I don't need any tension on the tensioner at all with this thing. It just that's back right off, and just the weight of the motor is enough just to slice it through. So that's that aspect of it. Yeah, it's just turned out good. I'm happy with it. $85. You can't go wrong. And it's plenty gutsy machine. And oh, one other thing I did too, I beefed up the base a bit. The original base was pretty tinny, so I added 30 by 30 by 3 mil angle iron on each of the 4 corners to brace it up. They bolted on. I put welded flats onto the bottom of each of the angle iron supports to give it a better footprint, and I put some wider wheels on it as well to stop it tipping over like these things are notorious for doing, and particularly if that arm swings up, they can tip over dead easy. And I put a couple of stringers across the base to put my tray on to catch the chips, and that's it. So that's the old girl. She's all finished, and these things are quite a good unit as bandsaws go. And I think these are the original design. This is probably 1970s, 80s, and I believe that all the Jets and Grizzlies, etc., are modelled, are a copy off of this. It's a pretty much, foolproof design. This one's good and solid. It's got knobs. On the cheapy ones now, you don't even get the knobs. Everything's heavy duty steel. There's no die cast rubbish. And in the blade guide department, and yeah, she's a top little unit, I reckon. So there you go. Good project. Worked out well. Should outlast me, and Okay, I hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.